While the base rate stands at 10%, additional duties vary by nation. And after that, when Trump revealed the full list of tariffs, including the baseline of 10% plus alpha, separately on each country, there was a sharp decline, and the market was in turmoil. Sharply climbed to a peak near 88,000 USDT, before taking a drop back to the 82,000 USDT range. Well, Michael Saylor's mega whale group is at it again and bought 22,048 Bitcoin valued at a whopping 1.9 billion USD. Also, on March 31st, Tether boosted its Bitcoin holdings by acquiring 8,888 Bitcoin. Yes, Bitcoin is reacting to tariff-related uncertainty, but at the same time, big players are quietly buying the dip, a strong sign that confidence in Bitcoin's long-term value remains intact. Tariff Day+1. Now what? Hello crypto sensors, I hope you're doing well. This is your host, Neil, and welcome back to the channel. So, here we are. Tariffs have arrived. US President Donald Trump made it official during a White House announcement, Make America Wealthy Again, on Wednesday, 2nd of April. Months of speculation and decades of free trade now meet a turning point. These reciprocal tariffs take effect on April 5th, with higher levies coming on April 9. So, this is just the beginning. He held up a chart detailing how much each country will be hit, and honestly, it's tougher than expected, with some nations facing more pressure than others. While the base rate stands at 10%, additional duties vary by nation. That said, it's still too early to gauge the full impact. With great uncertainty come great volatility. So, let's keep a close eye on the markets. Today, I will focus on 3 key points. First, Bitcoin's current situation, then how Liberation Day tariffs could impact crypto, and finally, whale activity. While the world watches tariffs, the whales are making moves. So, let us start by checking the S&P 500. When the Wall Street Journal, or WSJ, spread the news that tariffs would end with a total of 10%, the US market rose. And after that, when Trump revealed the full list of tariffs, including the baseline of 10% plus alpha, separately on each country, there was a sharp decline, and the market was in turmoil. As we know, Bitcoin market movements are very sensitive to the asset market. Let us pursue with a chart analysis. You can see, over the last 24 hours, Bitcoin's price started around 84,000 USD, sharply climbed to a peak near 88,000 USDT, before taking a drop back to the 82,000 USDT range. Speaking of volatility, a repercussion, no doubt, of Trump's announcement of reciprocal tariffs on April 2nd. Now, the liquidity. The heatmap highlights areas of high liquidation activity on the green and yellow lines, which represent leveraged positions being liquidated as the price moves. Liquidations are concentrated at key levels around 88,000 US dollar, where upward momentum led to short positions being liquidated. See that upper orange circle? And around 86,000 USD when downward momentum led to long positions being liquidated. That's the orange circle below. And below 82,000 USD, where downward momentum triggered long position liquidations. Down there, it looks like a lot of traders were betting on a continued upward move, the long positions, but when Bitcoin couldn't break above this range, it triggered a wave of forced liquidations, making the price drop even harder. And now we've got 88,000 USD confirmed as resistance. The rejection and those liquidations show that sellers overpowered buyers at this level. At the same time, we are seeing liquidations happening below 82,000 USD, meaning the market is testing a critical support level. This zone is now the main battleground. Bulls trying to hold the line and bears pushing for lower prices. The asymmetry in liquidation zones tell us that the market was too bullish, with way too much leverage on the long side. That imbalance set the stage for this sharp sell-off once 88,000 USD failed. So yeah, we better keep a close eye on 82,000 USD. If it breaks convincingly, the next major support could be around 80,000 USD. In my opinion, this pattern is typical during periods of high volatility, especially when markets are reacting to major events like yesterday's tariff implementation. So let's keep our heads cool. Now, let's go see how the altcoins are doing. In the case of altcoins, since the tariff issue was delivered and Trump took office, it was a very rough season. Looking at the increase rate of coins for 3 months based on upbits, excluding two stablecoins, Tether and USDC, all the remaining coins have recorded a huge decline, with the coin that has fallen the least at -10% and the coin that has fallen the most at -77%. So, this difficult market is ongoing. So what do these tariffs look like? We'll break down in more detail in future videos, but for now, let us focus on Asian markets. They are getting hit the hardest by this new tariff structure. The US has just rolled out reciprocal tariffs, forcing other countries to respond. Negotiations are now inevitable. China is taking the hardest hit, but other nations aren't getting off easy. They will need to adjust their trade policies to keep up. For instance, Japan faces a 24% tariff, while Korea is at 25% despite being among the US closest allies. This is a critical moment for the global economy, with every country scrambling to react and minimize the impacts. Many expected this announcement to bring more clarity, but instead it raises even more questions. How will countries respond? Will they negotiate or escalate into a full-blown trade war? For now, all eyes are on how this plays out. Korea will likely push for negotiations to lower its tariff below Japan's, while Japan will counter to stay competitive. During Trump's first term, tariffs mainly targeted China, reshaping global trade routes. This time, the impact is much broader, pulling more countries into direct trade talks with the US. Now, let us go take a look at what the whales are up to, shall we? I wanted to talk about the institutional accumulation of bitcoins. Bitcoin ETFs around the world now total 1.3 million bitcoin, or 6.2% of all the bitcoin that will ever exist. 2 years ago, institutions held 0 bitcoin. The rise of Bitcoin ETFs has been driven by increasing institutional interest, with US spot Bitcoin ETFs surpassing 125 billion USD in market value. BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF leads the market, holding 46% of the total ETF share. On March 31st, 2025, the Trump family announced their entry into the Bitcoin mining industry with a new venture called American Bitcoin. The big news here is that American Bitcoin will control 61,000 mining machines. Eric Trump, the son of the president, is going to serve as the chief strategy officer, all to build the Bitcoin reserve announced by Trump on March the 6th. This shows you that the Trump family has vested interest for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency to thrive in America long term. Remember last week, Monday, March 24th, when Strategy bought around 7,000 Bitcoins for 500 million USD? Well, Michael Saylor's Mega Whale Group is at it again and bought 22,048 Bitcoin valued at a whopping 1.9 billion USD. This significant purchase was processed between March 24th and March 30th with an average price of about 86,969 cents per Bitcoin. With this big acquisition, Strategy's Bitcoin reserve has surged to 528,185 Bitcoins. This has cemented Strategy's position as the largest corporate holder of Bitcoin in the world. Also, on March 31st, Tether boosted its Bitcoin holdings by acquiring 8,888 Bitcoin worth $735 million, continuing its strategy of quarterly accumulation of reserve diversification. With this purchase, Tether's Bitcoin reserve reached 521 Bitcoins, valued at 8.44 billion USD, making it one of the largest corporate holders of Bitcoin. The next 48 hours will be crucial for Bitcoin's direction. Here's what to watch. If Bitcoin holds above $82,000, we could see a rebound toward $85,000, $86,000, potentially retesting resistance at $88,000. If Bitcoin drops below $82,000, the next major support sits around $80,000, which could trigger further sell-off. But there's a bigger picture here. Despite short-term volatility, whales and institutions are aggressively accumulating Bitcoin. MicroStrategy, Tether, and even Trump's newly launched Bitcoin mining venture all signal long-term bullish sentiment. So what's the takeaway? Yes, Bitcoin is reacting to tariff-related uncertainty, but at the same time, big players are quietly buying the dip, a strong sign that confidence in Bitcoin's long-term value remains intact. If history tells us anything, it's that when institutions accumulate during uncertain times, they are positioning for the next major move. So, while short-term traders are caught in the volatility, long-term investors might see this as an opportunity. Let's keep a close eye on price action and, as always, stay sharp. If you find today's video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.